What's going on, guys?
We are back in the shop with the brand new Zillion SV TW 8:5:1 gear ratio SV boost, and I'm going to do a breakdown. I figured something out on the spools, so we're going to go through that. It comes in at 6.1 ounces. I've got my scale over here, and it is scaled at 6.1 ounces without any line or anything. So you're probably looking at 6.3, 6.4 ounces with line on it. So let me take this bad boy apart. I haven't broken it down yet, so this will be the first time taking this thing apart. Here's the SV boost. It's got a 310/4 bearing on the side plate. SV boost spool. It's got a 310/4 as well on the spool shaft with a washer retainer. The SV spool boost has a dual spring inductor, so when you make a really hard cast, when you make that initial cast, it comes all the way out. It's a two-stage, so it got the loose and then it comes all the way up. So when you make the hard cast, it comes all the way out and then backs in and backs off. I haven't made a cast yet, so I don't know how it actually works physically, but I was messing around with my TD Ito, which is just a TDZ frame, Mega Bass reel, and come to find out, for all you guys out there with TDZs, it is the exact same size, if you can see that. It swaps right in. And works in your TDZs. Hopefully the performance is great. Braking on the side might be a little different, but it fits right in and there's absolutely no issues. So this might be a killer upgrade for your TDZs. There's your spools. Good thing this is my reel. So your spool is, got my caliper here. It's 25 by 33, so 33 wide, 25, so 25 wide, 33 tall. Awesome little spool. Now we can get to breaking this thing down. Man, that one's tight. Take this spool, the reel handle off. Pretty curious to see what's inside. I'm guessing it's dry. It's very similar to the Alphas Air that I did, where there's hex screws instead of like flathead or Phillips heads. So you have to get a Allen key or Allen wrench I already loosened these up. So very similar. So you got one here, then you have a flathead actually in the frame here. So you got to take the spool out first. These are pretty tight screws. Which is good. Pops right off. Side plate should just pop off, hopefully. So there is the handle side plate. You've got your pinion bearing, the upper pinion bearing here, AR bearing, clip. And then the inside of the 8.5-to-1. It's a little dry, it's not terrible, but I'm probably going to add some grease while I've got it open, just because they tend to come a little dry. So you have your yoke springs, your aluminum gear here with a carbon drag on the bottom. This also has the clicking drag. So this plate right here, I can take it off very carefully. Put some of these parts aside. So you have your pinion gear here, your yoke, your secondary gears, which are always this polymer or plastic material, clutch plates, pretty simple inside, very clean, but here is, see if I can take this apart. So you can see here, here's the clicker here built into the washer. And on this plate, you've got all the grooves here that click when you know, if you loosen your drag and you fight a fish. If you use it in salt water, it'll make a clicking sound. You got a single stack carbon drag. Let me put this bad boy back in. That's pretty much it for the inside of the Zillion SV TW. Looks like there's no real grease on the gear. So I'm just going to add a little bit of grease here and there. Not worried about the factory grease because it's identical to what I'm using. It's just a different color. They just added a blue dye for the retail sale of their Daiwa grease. So let me put make sure your gear goes back on. You got your yoke. Probably should have put the yoke on first. The pinion gear. Pinion gear's back on. Alright, so that's back on. I'm going to drop some grease on the gear. Put the springs back on. Everything else looks pretty good. So you got the metal pinion gear and you got your aluminum main gear. It's pretty standard. I mean, this thing's pretty dang smooth, so we'll see how it holds up over time. But Daiwa's really good with their gears. Shimano's really good with their gears. They're very tough gears. So put this bad boy back together. The only upgrade I'm going to do probably, and that'll probably come in a later video, is going to be the spool bearings. But time being, I'm just going to crack her back off, put her back together. I'm not a fan of these hex screws. I don't know why they do it. It's just kind of a, I don't know, a little more time consuming, I guess. Especially when you're working on 10 or 15 reels a day. I like to just bust out the screwdriver. Maybe put a little oil. Lucas oil. Time to put the washer on, drag clicker. Now when doing the drags on most every reel, comes with 2 of these washers, and they are curved. It's kind of hard to see, but you want the washers either like this or like that. You don't ever want them like that, because then you're not putting the proper amount of pressure on your drag. There's that. Put a little grease on the clicker. Line that up, put the spring back on, drag star back on, the handle, tighten her back up. Put the cap, which I might actually change because I've got plates. I've actually got handle plates instead of putting this piece of plastic on. I've got a handle plate similar to this right here that I can put on this reel that I keep in stock that I just have for overflow. Just makes it a little bit more lower profile. Might lighten it up just a smidge, but that's really about it. Drop the spool back on. Put a little grease on the end of the worm gear here. Don't need a whole lot. Side plate back on. There's a locking. Lock it back on. And it is good to go. So that is the inside of the Daiwa Zillion SV TW 85-1. Pretty simple. The other thing I'm going to do probably is I'm going to crack open the knobs. I'm pretty sure there's only two. I'm pretty sure there's only one bearing. So we bust this open right now. So there's a bearing on the bottom, it looks like. The bearing there. And a bushing up top. So I'm going to replace these bushings with bearings. So it'll bring it up to 12, 11, 10, something like that. I don't know. I think it's 8 plus 1, so it'd be 10 plus 1. So that would be another upgrade I'm going to do to the reel. Just because I can. Yeah, see, I mean, they spin, but they're not what they should be, so I will definitely be upgrading those. That is it, guys. The spool fits in the TDZ. Pretty freaking awesome. New Zillion, new TDZ, or the old TDZ. This is probably 15 years old. You can kind of see size comparison of the two. But smash that thumbs up, guys. I'm going to do another one with the More Than Steez A that I just got in as well. So I'm going to bust that one open. I'm going to do some upgrades on this. And talk to you guys later. Get in there. Have a good one, guys.